Namaskar. A very good evening to all of you. Very warm welcome to all our listeners out there who have been following us regularly. Sometimes they get to connect us with us live, and sometimes they watch the recording. So this is the series, very interesting series called "The Key to Your Health May Lie in Your Gut," and this is the fourth episode. And we have, as usual, Anil Grover ji. Very warm welcome, Anil ji. Little introduction about him. Most of you may know him, but for those who do not, uh, he's a applied functional medicine coach. He's been certified from the School of Applied Functional Medicine, Massachusetts, and he's also had his exposure to deep exposure to nutritive sciences, and he was certified from the Integrative Nutrition from New York, and his leaning is towards the plant-based nutrition, and he got his rich uh, education from T. Colin Campbell Center, New York, which is a very famous institute for this kind of study. So, Anilji, today we are talking about a subject which is has very deep personal interest because this is a rather new interest that has developed. I have developed. Uh, I never knew that stomach has such a big role. I think the medical sciences itself, the interest is relatively new one. I mean, we're talking about just about 2 decades or so. The first, I think, the insight, I think, was as early as 2004. So it has all been there, but the level to which it is being moving now in terms of the interest in microbiomes and all is phenomenal. So the series itself is very interesting, but we promise to our viewers that this particular episode is going to be mind blowing. And as you were saying, that what he's going to share is probably just a percentage of what he has been exposed to, and but that is the
Maybe
value
one
because
percent. We
it's a
can
personal.
talk maybe around let's say 3 to 5%
Yeah, so
today
that
evening.
is the value because we what we would like to give to our viewers is the distilled knowledge, distilled wisdom. I mean, they are not there to research and become have doctorate in that subject. So Anilji, I think you should let's write. I'm excited. I know that despite the large number of books that I'm trying to read and videos that I'm trying to watch, I every time I in this session I get a lot of value from your talks. So I'm sure the viewers will infer nice, interesting insights and some certain things that they can include in their lifestyle. That's a promise. So let's try dive in and you enlighten us on the warm up us to this issue of microbiomes and its connection with disease, and we'll go deeper later.
Okay, yes, good evening everyone to the viewers and Gautam Vivekji, thank you very much for always being there and making this talk so interactive and wonderful. So let's go straight into it because we have promised 20 minutes to our viewers. So for me, what is fascinating is always I connect all my talks to the wonder of what we are talking today. Maybe the research has started maybe 2 decades ago. Now the research is carrying on worldwide in all the countries about it's more to do with genetics also. But from the viewpoint of nature, this situation always existed. The gut microbiome always existed. We only came to know about it now. So that's the fascinating thing about human life, nature, interaction with nature, and we human species. So there are actually about 100 trillion uh, this good and bad bacteria in our intestine. That is called the microbiome. So they are maybe about 10 times more than the human cells, than my cells. So it's something fascinating. And each of those bacteria is in our gut, small, large intestine, or the oral cavity, or starting from here. They also have genes. They also have DNA. Our cells have DNA, so they also have DNA. So it is an interaction. It is interaction, communication going on. So these 100 trillion, and then there are about 1,000 species, 1,000 different kind of bacteria, good ones, and also the pathogens, not the so good ones. There are 1,000 species, and all those species will have different strains. So now research scientists are mapping them down, recording them now. They all have numbers, they all have names. And as already I just said, the DNA. So we are carrying more genes, more DNA of these commensal bacteria. Commensal means it is a relationship we have. I'm the host, we are the host, the humans, and we are having them in us. So commensal means a give and take relationship. It's all wonder of nature. So they live on what I eat, right? And in return, they do service for me. That is, they take care of my health, which we will see today what they do. And at the same time, they don't damage my cells. They live in me, inside and outside also, but we are talking about the gut. They live inside, they feed on what I feed. So that becomes very important, because we have a choice of what I'm feeding, what I'm eating, but they don't have a choice. They are faced with what I'm going to eat. So that is one of the key points we will understand today. That is modern lifestyle, where we have gone wrong. And there's cross-talk going on, cross-regulation going on between, because the genes the genes talk through transcription, translation means through protein synthesis, communication happens. So in the beginning, it might be a bit technical, but later on it will become easy, so we all can go home with something. So this is the fascination about this interaction happening between bacteria in our gut. That is what the gut microbiome is. And now lots of research is going on, and lots of interconnection will take place. So Vivek ji, Gautam ji, so that was what this fascinating nature interconnection is happening in the world, between we also part of nature, and we don't know whether we existed before or they existed before. The bacteria, they also have genes, they were already always there. So now then, if we are going to go further, then we can talk something about the functions, what they do to us. They are commensal in nature, but let us go into a bit more precise purpose of them. They provide a barrier effect. A barrier effect means when I'm eating, toxins are coming in, bad bacteria is coming in. There is already bad bacteria inside, which also has a purpose, maybe to balance us, not to make them too lazy. Maybe they are alert, so that is nature. So, but more could be coming in. So they provide a barrier effect, means they can stop the other ones from creating the colonies inside us. So colonization resistance and barrier effect is provided by these good bacteria. They can communicate with the host. I am the host with my immune system, because in our last talks on the gut, we said already that the immune system is just around the intestine lining, which is very thin. So immune system is there guarding it with not wanting unwanted pathogens entering our system, our blood, our system. So, and the other side are these good bacteria, so they can communicate with our immune system and give them signals if something is wrong, that send more army, more immune system quickly over here. Some pathogens have come inside. That communication takes place, interaction is there. Then they provide metabolic functions. Metabolic function means we eat, and in our food we have fiber. So it is a wonder now. Fiber we don't digest, we don't need it, but it is like the structure in the plants and vegetables and fruits. So they use the fiber, which we don't use, and from the fiber they make fat. the bacteria makes fat from the unwanted fiber, which we also eat, which gives, of course, bulk to our stool, our last talk. And this fat is called short chain fatty acid fats. And there are few kinds of them, but one of them called butyrate has a very purposeful function of keeping our intestine lining intact in good health. The short chain fatty acids are the fuel for the energy of our cells of the intestine lining. So that is a very important role they are playing. And then they also make vitamins for us. Most of the B vitamins, B12 is made by them. So they have metabolic functions and they can interact, because they have genes. So genes can, to just keep it simple, genes, so they can interact by sending some proteins into our bloodstream, which can go even into our blood-brain barrier, and they can interact with our brain also. That is why we say gut feelings. So this real interaction is taking place, this real communication is taking place. Our moods, depression, everything now is somehow getting interconnected with what's happening in the gut with these commensal bacteria, means the bacteria which has two-way function. We keep them and they work for us like an outsourcing factory, And when all these things which they are supposed to do, when that is not happening, then the system goes compromised, and that is called dysbiosis, means the bad bacteria becomes more than the good bacteria. Normally the good bacteria will be more and they'll just keep the bad one also in balance. So the bad ones will not do anything. So in a balance. So that is their function. A very important function is happening by them. So we can take a short just a break here before we go on to the next step, Gautamji.
Yeah, I found this the word commensal very interesting because it's a debt of gratitude they are doing. They're getting the food. It's like sometimes when I was reading about it, I was wondering whether they have us or we have them. It is that kind of
Yes.
feeling one gets, and such an important function that they perform. I mean, it's so critical to our survival. And in fact, these microbiomes take over within a couple of hours of our being born. The moment we are born, I think there some we get, of course, from
Yes.
our mother, and
Hmm.
so this is very interesting. And you said, there are like immune system is protected. Uh, there are what you call the barrier effect. Or now that we have understood it broadly, and you have picked a little deep. Now we were talking about basic disease and gut health
Diseases.
correlation,
Okay.
because once the whole what dysbiosis, as you call it, it seems there are bad flora is always there for a function. A good flora keeps on fighting with it and keeps in a healthy shape. But once we tilt the balance and things go wrong, so what are those things that can happen that can give us those diseases?
So, yes, so the research in Europe, America, everywhere in the world, lots of research is going on. And we will not go into detail because that will be very, very lengthy and very technical. But the research has shown that inflammatory bowel disease, so many people suffer from it, like they can't find a symptom. No, there are symptoms, of course, like lots of distress in the gut, stomach, but no cause is found. So uh, it is like because of this imbalance, this inflammatory bowel disease is happening, which can be more subdivided into Crohn's, autoimmune disease, and such disease of the gut. And fascinating, obesity is connected with it. They can regulate the uptake of fat cells in the body. From the gut, they can send signals. So, and everywhere, the short chain fatty acid, that is always connected in everything. So, non insulin dependent diabetes, because they also control hormones. So insulin is a hormone. So they can send when the food is coming in, pancreas has to make insulin, so they can regulate. They regulate and they can send signals that when insulin should be made, how much should it made. So that connection is very deep. So if there is dysbiosis, if there is imbalance, if they are not in proper shape, this will have an effect to our diabetes and even the autoimmune diabetic situation, insulin dependent diabetes 1. Also, the research has very closely linked. So the research for each is very deep. So we are just going through what all is interconnected. Almost all diseases are being connected, but just listed these here, like autism, Alzheimer, dementia, depression. All, if there is an imbalance with, if they have gone out of balance, they have become less the good bacteria. Again, it depends on which strain, on which species. The research will show that some species is controlling diabetic function, some is controlling the brain function, some is controlling obesity function. So that in research they have separated that out and shown it very easily and very well. Cancers, mainly the colorectal cancer, the cancer of the colon, because when these good bacteria they go out of balance, they are managing the inflammation, they are managing, through the regulation of the cytokine, the signaling for immunity, they manage all that. And they make the short chain fatty acid, which is very important for the colon lining. They manage inflammation, various other things. So when that is dysregulated, chronic in the long run, gene mutations can take place in the lining cells, which can result in tumor, in neoplasm growths, which can turn cancerous. So the link is there, very close link is there. Fiber, less fiber, they have problems. Less fiber also manages detoxification of estrogen, and extra estrogen is always connected to hormonal cancer. So the connection was, research has shown very well now. Allergies, if our gut lining is not intact, not healthy, one of the main things is the short chain fatty acid, and vitamin D plays a very big role here. Vitamin D can also can protect from the cell linings from injury. Vitamin D suppresses inflammation. Vitamin D maintains a balance between the good and bad bacteria. So lots of things vitamin D is doing. So lack of vitamin D or lack of receptors in the cells in vitamin D will have a part to play here, which will compromised intestinal lining will result in allergies, autoimmunity. So almost we are seeing that everything, the etiology and the pathogenesis is somehow being connected from here. Yet it is research which is going on. So the research says that is it the disease takes place first and affects the gut microbiome, or is it the gut microbiome going out of balance and affecting the disease? So that is a very important question. Research is going on, but they found very good, there's lots of evidence there. So they did lots of testing on humans and also on the animal models, mice. So let us say a person who is obese or having diabetes or cancer, any one of these diseases. So they took the microbiome from the intestine of those subjects and put it into healthy people, and the healthy animal or human subjects developed those dysfunction. And same way, when a person who was compromised with cancer or obesity or inflammatory bowel disease, they took the microbiota from those subjects and put it into healthy subjects, and the healthy subjects got models got sick with those diseases. So this shows the correlation that yes, the gut microbiome is having an influence on the diseases. So lots of research which now they want to go more deep and be more targeted so that they can We will see towards the end how they can help people with managing their diseases. So I think this was a bit technical part. Now we would like to go more into, take a break here, and then we can go into the part where I wish all of you all can take home how to keep our gut microbiome healthy.
So this, when you mentioned about the, the what comes first, it reminded me of a case that I read where the mother actually was FMT, what they call fecal microbiome transplant, and her daughter was obese or gaining weight, and that's not the problem with the mother. And when they actually did it to save her from some other issues, she started gaining weight. So it's almost like a
Yes,
blueprint kind
yes,
of thing, that is
yes,
there. So we are probably yet to, we just begin to scratch the surface.
correct.
Now we can continue to do that, but the important thing is that we have now fair amount of understanding what really helps the gut microbiome. And so this
Yes,
is something that is useful for us now, having understood the overall picture and the importance. I think let's talk
yes,
about what we should do or what we shouldn't do to keep it
yes,
happy, such that our life is happy.
correct. Yes, so we went into a bit into technical aspect. So many of you all would be interested to know that with knowledge and education comes the understanding, and then we have more faith and belief in it, and we have more power to put it into play. Yet at the same time, just want to start with this picture. Look at nature. It's all so wonderful, so perfect, everything. This is a scene from Thailand, from Pattaya. So so everything functions in nature. It's the sun will rise, the sun will set. Everything is happening on its own time. Similarly, the gut microbiome was always there. So okay, science, technology, we are understanding it more. So, but let us come in and let us connect to nature. Let us see what keeps them happy, and let us do that. And I think once they are happy, everything is okay. So now we move towards points which we can take home. So it was studied also in all these researches that certain kind of foods kept them happy. They thrive on certain foods where there was lots of fiber, because the main diet for them is fiber, which is from plants and vegetables. Plus, plants and vegetables also have phytonutrients, minerals, vitamins, all the micronutrients, which do the function of and keep the body healthy. So they have less stress to keep the body happy. So they're also happy. So fiber is very important, coming from fruits and vegetables. And anti-inflammatory foods, again, anti-inflammatory foods are plants and vegetables. They have lots of phytonutrients, lots of polyphenols. Not going into the details, but just saying they are in them. All the colors are polyphenols, and which are very helpful to the cells, chemopreventive. They take care of the genes, DNA. So this is what we can take home, that we should include in our meals more of the we don't have to go in very sugar rich ones like sweet fruits. We can avoid all that because people do have sweet diabetic problems. We can go in for the things which are not sweet, simple as that. With complex carbohydrates will not give insulin spike. Avoid refined foods. That does not help them. It does not help us because they don't get their fiber, and they are devoid of micronutrients. So why should we have it? Refined foods, I think everyone understands. Cheap oils. Cheap oils are very inflammatory. Omega 6, full of omega 6. The ratio has gone totally out. Should be 1 into 1, 3 to 6 is now maybe 10 into 1, some strange ratio, and that is why we are getting sick. So when we are putting it in, we have a choice, but we are not taking care. But those poor microbiota, biota, these bacteria, they don't have a choice. It's coming to them. So they go haywire and everything goes wrong. So these things should be stopped. We take care of them, they are taking care of us. Toxins, they are also affected by toxins. They are also damaged by toxins. Medicines sometimes are necessary, but sometimes some people have habit of eating medicines unnecessarily. They can't handle those strong chemicals coming in. Hormones, birth control pills, hormones, estrogen, progesterone, they don't belong in the mouth. So when we take it, they're affected by that. And dairy and meat also are inflammatory. So the research shows that people who are predominantly on dairy and meat, which animal foods, their microbiota was different to the ones which were eating more, which were taking in more fruits and vegetables. Also, they are different strains. So that has been researched, and that was the diet. So through the diet, we can so easily keep our gut microbiome happy, and in return, they take really preventive and good care of our entire physiology system, biochemistry. Environment. The microbiome is very much dependent on the environment. When a baby is born, in a natural way, when the baby is born through the birth canal of the mother, it gets the microbiome picked up, which is very, very important. Now, if the baby is born cesarean, the first bacteria which it will pick up is the one in the room. It will not pick up what it was supposed to pick up from the mother's birth canal. So it's very important. Feeding. It was researched that breastfed babies had different microbiome, different species, and the ones which were formula fed had different. Because this is all, what environment means, what environment they are getting inside, what they are facing, the bacteria inside. Are they facing mother's milk, or are they facing chemical breastfed, not breastfed, I mean formulas and all these things. Then comes postnatal hygiene. We see that sometimes nowadays, modern living, we are over cautious of our babies, not letting them touch anything, not letting them play on the floor, and sanitizing anything they touch, we are sanitizing. So now those children, when they grow up, later on, the research saw that they are lacking the commensal bacteria. Because early on, the commensal bacteria, they have to be exposed to the bad bacteria in a natural, controlled way, natural way, so that the opposite commensal species is built up for their protection. If that is not happening, so the immune system remains compromised, cold, coughs, allergies, that carries on. So because the environment was not favorable to this bacteria. We are so much aware of there's a diarrhea called traveler's diarrhea. When one person from one country goes to another country, immediately he often gets diarrhea. So because he was never exposed to that country's environment. So normally, often that time, there's a special species called S. boulardii, Saccharomyces boulardii, which can literally just take care of the traveler's diarrhea. And we also are diurnal, means we should follow the rhythm of the sun when we should get up and sleep, but we have stopped doing that. Now we don't sleep at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we sleep at 1, 2, 3 o'clock, So, but the gut microbiome, they follow the system of the nature of sleeping or working or not working. So if we are feeding them the wrong time, or there's disturbance in the timing, jet lag, that you get up, you start getting to a flight at this time and you land this different time, they also get disturbed. It has an effect, can create long run chronic. If this is happening, it will create a IBS or insulin problems happen. So this is how sensitive, how delicate all these things work, and how easily we can take care. So how, intervention by exogenous, how can we, now what can we do? One is the food, one is the environment we just saw. Being oversensitive since last year, okay, we are very careful with COVID, but sometimes some people are washing their hand, even before this COVID situation, or cleaning it, and because we also have the bacteria on our hands, the good ones. So it can create a negative effect also. And fermented foods we can take in. Fermented foods is basically probiotics, concentrated probiotics. So that should be a must. Probiotic outside our body, from the body, it's taken and made in the laboratories. So people have that. So nowadays it's available in different strains for different purpose as per research. But still, they will not be that effective because it has to be really the best quality. They should be not compromised, and they are not in the gut because they have been kept in the laboratory and made over there. So there will be some. It is noticed that what we take, it comes out actually, but still they do benefit. And the modern research, which already people are using it and working on it in many clinics, is our waste, our daily bowel movement. The fecal, the microbiota is in the fecal. So that is taken from healthy subjects, and of course with special technique and all, hygienically managed and clean, and put into persons who are having the disease. And the research showed, it's already being done, that they managed the disease and had remission of the disease. Fecal microbiota transplantation, orally or through IV or through the lower end. So that is also being researched and developed more for future help to humanity. That all has been going on. This is something which we can avoid here. Genetics, okay, there is if some genetics compromisation is there, then IBS can be developed and those problems can take place. So to make it easy, what we can take home, it comes back to the simple thing of taking care of a food, what we are eating, they're also getting. And all the unwanted foods, it goes to them, they can't escape it, and they get damaged. And dysbiosis can affect from that. So that is the most important thing what we can, and most simple thing, simplest thing. And then to have probiotic drinks. And we can go on and on. So I think we can stop here, pass it on to Gautamji. So here in my website, you can go and you will see there are some probiotic foods, recipes like coconut yogurt, sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, very good. Also good for detoxification of the liver, support, and fermented drinks, and the famous Indian kanji. So we should incorporate that without fail. It's so easy. It's so simple. Nature is so simple. To eat good, it's so simple. Eat healthy, not to eat refined, not to eat packaged things that cause harm. And that's where the problems have come about. Diseases have come like that. So Gautamji, I think now I pass on to you.
Anilji, thank you so much for the rich insight. I think the advice is very simple. There's nothing very fancy that we have to do. We have to stick to the age-old advice of eating whole foods, eating lots of fiber that come to us from vegetables and fruits, sleep on time, avoid too much of antibiotics and things like that. And the advice has been there, but I don't know whether we really understood the full import of that, what it does. So now that we have given an insight into the deep, that is like going deep into the microbiome, see what it does for us. I think the least we can do ourselves a favor and them a favor by not eating foods which pretend to be food, which are not foods. So refined foods barely qualify to be foods. So I hope some very valuable takeaways have been there from your discussion. And I wish our viewers well. They should incorporate it in their life and maybe share it through social media channels. So maybe I think what I've done may not be the full story. So at some time in future, we can revisit the topic with some other aspect as well. So thank
Yes.
you for joining us all, and thank you, Anilji. Let's be
Yes. Hope
again
on
next
the
day at the same time around 7:30. We'll meet again in the same
so we will
series.
also do this in Hindi. And just to end it, remedies sometimes, as we see, nature is natural and it's easy, it's simple. But we have complicated ourselves and we expect the remedy to be also some very scientific, some pill. It's not going to be like that. It's just we have to have faith and step away from all the complications we have gone into and just eat what our elders ate. I always say back to beginnings, the way before the world was, and I'm seeing that change comes in people, and once it starts, then they understand, and motivation comes, and things get better. That's it.
So in
So
fact,
thank
it was when I
you.
read about the intelligence of the microbiomes that decided the title of my book, Unblock Body's Intelligence for Health and Wellness. Because
Yes,
I don't think we're entitled to even teach the body what it should be doing and how much to eat and
yes,
how time to eat and things
yes,
like that. So uh, this is a very important dimension, and I will encourage all of you to explore further.
yes. Okay, wonderful. So thank you,
Thank you all. Namaskar.
thank you.